Good evening, Wolf Nation. This is your captain speaking. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday night, and you know what that means. Your weekend officially starts right now. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Realmhattan Project. My name is Eric von Wolfenstein, and we have a full house tonight, a little extra full. We have two special guests with us. Because when you're talking about Motu, you need the biggest Motu fans out there. So, of course, joining us first, all the way from the West Coast, dodging airplanes to be here tonight, Mr. 9.8. We got Coco Smooth joining us. And I think making his ROC podcast debut, if I am not mistaken, we got the keeper of the MyRock Clubhouse. We got Mr. Matt B with us tonight. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Good to have you. So listen, we have a lot of ground to cover tonight, so we're just going to dive right in. You know, the big topic tonight is Masters of the Universe. You know, we'll be talking about the original toy line, mini comics, cartoons, poorly run subscription services, maybe even a little bit of She-Ra. But, before we begin, I want to go around the room. I want to ask everyone a question. What is it about Masters of the Universe that, drew you into the fandom? Yoel, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I would have to say that the commercials worked when I was a kid. At the tender age of 4, watching the commercials, I wanted to participate in what American kids were doing. Like, man, these American kids look like they're having a blast playing with these toys. Like a Castle Grayskull, Skeletor, Beastman, and He-Man. I was like, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to do. Like them kids playing in the commercials. That's what I want. But my parents at the time, well, we weren't exactly the richest. So I ended up with Fisher Price astronauts, Adventure People astronauts instead, until I got my first He-Man fig. But yes, He-Man was my absolute first love, point blank, period, of anything. So yeah, that's I would have to say that the designs for sure got me. I'm just a big fan of the vibrant colors of Beastman and Merman, those faces, you know what I mean? It's just so wild. I like that. When you're a kid and you're seeing all them colors, it's just like assault in the senses, right? You're like, ooh, I want that. And at the time they were also kind of chunky figures, right? So you're impressed by the girth, you know what I'm saying? So yeah. But that was my first impression of He-Man when I was a kid at 4 years old. And since then, I would have to say that when they made a reintroduction of it, that was the very first time I would have to say that I felt nostalgia. So when 2000 and X line came up, and at the time I was I just turned 21, 22, right? Watching He-Man being resurrected again as a toy brand, I was like, oh my gosh. Being done by the Horsemen, who were doing Spawn toys at the time, which is what I was collecting at the time. I was just like, I had a nostalgia-gasm, everything you can think of. I was just like, oh my gosh, this looks so good. I remember it. That's the spirit of that's what I wanted. Now they're closer to what the 8-back looks like versus, because when you're a kid, there's the box art and then there's the toy, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're seeing the way the box with the advanced technology and stuff, you're seeing the box art start to line up with the way the figs look. You're like, wow, I want that even more now, So that's my first introduction to Masters of the Universe, and I haven't looked back since. Kind of ish. I'll get into the part where I retired for a little bit.
Yeah, we'll definitely get there. Matt B, what about you?
Give us a wave.
Much the same. So much the same. I think the combination of the sci-fi and the fantasy elements from the cartoon kind of drew me in initially, and it was a whole different world. I mean, and the designs were unique. I mean, there's a lot of kind of animation duplicity there where everybody kind of looks the same. We always make jokes about how could you not tell Prince Adam is He-Man? Everybody had basically the same build, but honestly, Skeletor laughing and just like a villain that terrified you, like walking into my bathroom as a kid, brushing my teeth, checking inside the shower, make sure Skeletor and Beastman weren't in there to take me away, right? it was both terrifying and exhilarating. I love the unique design from Triclops to Beastman to Merman. Like as Huel said, the vibrant colors and the different kind of characters that kind of drew you in, that kind of resonated and were much different than anything else I'd seen. And it was the first real cartoon that I'd watched, and it was the first cartoon that was directly related to a toy line. I was probably about the same age, 5, 6 years old, when it really took hold. But no, I really enjoyed the cartoon itself, and it was one of those things that, as time grew, they introduced more and more characters, and the kind of the follow-on series. I mean, I know we're going to talk about it later, but you get to She-Ra, and if we're all honest with ourselves, they've got just as many good or great characters and settings in that as they had in He-Man. And the 2000X He-Man line and the cartoons that went with it kind of continued that storyline, kind of made it a little bit more mature for like people 20, 25 years old at the time. So it kept on building on it, never kind of retreaded the same ground. And then the toys kind of followed suit, like with big, colorful, ridiculous looking toys to go with these ridiculous looking characters. So we're all relatively accessible. And they've done a really good job of kind of reinventing themselves while staying true to the source kind of material. Like He-Man looks the same as he did, 40 years ago now, almost, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, definitely 40 years ago. So like,
Oof.
but you can tell it's He-Man, even though he's bigger, has more articulation, has a better face sculpt, but you know exactly who it is when you're looking at it. But he kind of grown with the fandom. So now I've the comics, the show, the characters. It was really, honestly, my first and probably still my favorite toy line or property. So I'm excited to talk about it with you guys tonight.
Very cool. Very cool. Joseph, how about you?
So I actually did not get into the toy line until last year. Again, the show didn't air. I didn't in my area. I didn't have any comic shops in my area. So the only reason I even got into any of the 80s properties is because at my local video rental store, the only thing they had was the Transformer stuff and like the G.I. Joe movie. That was it. But when Origin started coming out, I was even late to the game to that. I was like, well, like I want to start my shelf where I've got my, homage to this franchise. And that was like my plan. Like you can see my turtle shelf here, and then like Ghostbusters there, and let's see that down below behind my back's the Motu stuff. But I was like, as I got these things, I was like out and messing with them. I'm like, I really, really like this, and I got into the Masterverse stuff. And say what you will about the Netflix things, like I enjoyed that, But I mean, like I discovered the line as an adult just in the last couple of years, and he is again, like Matt said, he's one of these iconic figures that you look at it, who it is. There's no question it's that person. And one of the things that's really drawn me in, like I just happen to have this here, and I think it was Yule that brought it up, was like the artwork. I mean, just look. I mean, that's freaking awesome.
Mhm.
That's on the back of an originally a $30 toy. And then the Mattel Creations, the Panther, like that box was great. And then when you got that artwork that came with it, like I want to frame that. I still got the box. I'm not tossing that because it looks like it's such a cool thing. I wanted to get that piece of artwork that came with it framed up. But it's one of those things. Like when I was messing with them, like I really, really just, even though I didn't have it as a kid, it made me feel like a kid. There was that nostalgia was there. Now I did have two Motu, one toy and one vehicle as a kid growing up, but I had no clue they were Motu. Rio Blast and help me here, E. It's the dinosaur head with the big smashing arm. The Dino Smasher.
Ashosaurus.
That. I had no clue those two things were Motu. Now looking back, I can say, oh yeah, that makes sense that Rio Blast was Motu just based on kind of how he was doing it. But like I always thought that was a cool little figure I had as a kid. Of course, I was a kid, so I lost most of the accessories and whatnot. But still, here recently, I went back and looked at the cartoons, and like I've told y'all how like with Thundercats, how I just cannot stand those cartoons. But I'm, say what you will, I'm really enjoying the old He-Man cartoons. I mean, I don't know what it is. Like I had no connection to this as a kid, but it's like somehow my brain is creating nostalgia for something that I didn't have as a kid, and I'm still getting that like endorphin dopamine hit of enjoyment from these things I'd never had as a kid, never messed with as a kid, but I am now. So, I'm new to the Motu game.
Okay, that's better late than never, as I always say.
Skip to court.
Gord, are you done eating?
I know I'm still eating, but I could talk.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us your what got you into this, man.
So as a kid, I had a couple He-Man figures, and at that point, because I'm just a little younger, but it was reruns. So I remember it being on TV, but it was Turtle Mania. So like that's where I was. It was Turtles, Ghostbusters, Transformers. Like these were a little heavier on the airwaves still. But I had Mossman, He-Man, and Rattler, and those were fun figures. The Rattler and Mossman lasted the longest, and Mossman was just coming apart. Like he was, all the flocking was just like peeling off, and he was disgusting. He had to get trashed because he was just gross.
You failed to water him.
Yeah, I know. I should have planted him. Maybe I would have gotten a new one. But when the 2000X cartoon came out, kind of like you, like it really reinvigorated it. I was like, I remember this, and I got excited, and I bought up that entire toy line. And I guess we'll get to that part of the discussion in a bit. But that cartoon is fantastic. Anybody that hasn't watched the 2000 He-Man cartoon, like you have to check it out.
100%.
It's a lot of fun.
It's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, it captures the spirit of something in a good way. I feel like that's the He-Man equivalent to something like Batman the Animated Series or something like it has like a strong vibe to it, and it's just a good time. And then coming up to now, I mean, I have most of the origins. Like I'm missing a lot of things, like all these kind of nameless or like newly created Snake Men. Like I'm not picking up everything. But powering through a lot of that, doing a lot of the new Eternia Masterverse classics. I didn't get in on any of that. I was a little off the grid for some of that toy collecting years wise. But I am looking forward to hearing about you guys jumping into classics in the subscription service. But that's my He-Man basics really.
That's classics going to be a very good discussion. I have a feeling.
Yeah.
E Prime, how about you, bud?
Well, for me, it was definitely the toys first. Just I don't know what it was. I was just looking at them when I got them. They were so different from anything else I had as a kid at the time. I know, like, and I think part of it was, and this is kind of funny to say, like, I think my mother really enjoyed He-Man, at least the toys, because she made sure to hunt down everything for me, right? We didn't have a lot. Christmases were I always thought Christmases were big for us because my parents might have felt guilty about all the things that we couldn't do and didn't have. Like my mother was doing Christmas shopping year round, right? Like come January, she's already it's on sale, buy it, store it in my grandmother's house, and it's there, right? So that she can get the stuff we had for Christmas. And here I wanted to share a picture of young me with the original Eternia playset.
That young man had no idea he was holding a future grail for all Motu collectors.
Yeah.
No, and
No, he knew.
For all the naysayers out
He
there, it's
knew.
definitely EE because he
Look at
is
that
not
guy.
smiling.
he's not smiling. There you go.
He's not smiling, but look at the smirk and look at the eyes. That man big pimping. He knows it. He knows the street value of that.
This was Christmas Eve, and it was technically a gift from my grandmother that year. But you know how it goes. My mother bought it and was like, "Here, this is what you're gonna give him." Um, yeah, and when I woke up the next morning, my father had took it out the box. He assembled it.
Nice.
He took out
That's
all my He-Man stuff, the castles, and had everything set up for me Christmas morning when I woke up.
that's awesome.
Oh, always remember that. Like I've gone through the list of U.S. releases for He-Man, and I had just about almost a complete collection at one point. I think I was missing Meteor Orbs, but anything that had come out in the U.S. for us, I've gone through it and I had it. Like my mother was really like she was on point. Like he doesn't have this one. She knew what I had. She kept track of it better than I did. Um, but
Dude, shout out to moms, man.
Heck yeah.
I will sit
Shout
there
out.
and I can sit there at one point it might have said that Transformers might have been the first love, but the more and more I've thought about it over, especially over the last 2 years or so, it was He-Man was like the main as a kid was the big one. And beyond the that they were my biggest toy collection. Like I wouldn't miss a cartoon. Like I knew when it was USA Cartoon Express would show He-Man and just He-Man's on. Let's go. Gotta
Ah,
watch. Gotta
remember
watch.
that.
Gotta watch. Gotta watch. And yeah, maybe I don't think the cartoon holds up too well, but I still put it on and watch it. Like that theme song, that opening is just it'll
It's
catch
good.
you every time. It's always on. Well, not always, but it's pretty predominant background noise for me now. Like when I'm doing something, working on dioramas, whatever, I have like He-Man playing on the background, right? Just on YouTube or whatever. So yeah.
So
Nice.
I know this is a Motu thing, but like what you were saying about, waking up Christmas morning and having that dad to set up that display. I mean, I don't I think it's hard for I'm gonna be honest with you. 2000, I don't know why I'm picking this specific year, but 2005 on, it's kids nowadays are not going to have that because most of what they seen once digital. I'm not talking like you were what about how old were you in that picture?
Oh God, I have no idea what year did that come out.
87,
Um,
86?
87,
87.
86,
87.
87.
So I got it 87. I don't know. I can't remember if I got it the year it came out or she found it the following.
Well, let's
I
just say
can't. I
87.
can't tell you, right?
Yeah.
So maybe 10. I'm around 10,
Okay, so
10-ish
around
in
10.
that because I was born in 78. So in that
Okay, so
10-ish
yeah,
age.
around 10. Um, the kids that I deal with that age, they want digital stuff essentially. Like I would like doing stuff like that. Like I remember, like to me, it was the Ghostbusters house that I remember seeing. But like these toys, man, these toys that decade was so great for that stuff. And I think you got that in the 90s, but I don't. I think kids today are really, really missing out on that because of everything's being sucked into so much digital and so much online and things like that. So I mean, that's a great memory to have, dude. That was great.
So I mean, not. I don't want to get too far off topic on it, but well, as you know, I have a 16-year-old and I have an 8-year-old, right? And I can tell you between the two of them, my daughter's 8, and she plays with toys way more than my son ever did.
Mhm.
It's the boys that I feel are being more sucked into the digital the video games. I mean, don't get me wrong, my daughter likes to play her Roblox and stuff, but she will sit there and spend hours playing with her toys that my son never really was like that.
Oh,
It's just look my experience, right? Just
Yeah,
yeah,
from
yeah.
what I've seen with my kids, right?
Yeah. Your experience may vary.
yeah.
Understood.
She still wants toys. She's still asking for toys. At this point, at 8, my son like, I don't know.
Give me a gift
Can I get
card,
a fort?
Dad.
Can I get a Fortnite skin?
That's what's where my stepdaughter's at right now. Can you buy me this
You know,
Fortnite skin? What? Oh, sadly, at that age. Um. All right. Well, let's jump into the toys, man. I mean, that was what came first, right? 1982. It's
Mhm.
when this whole ride started. Mattel missed out on the Star Wars license. We all know that. Didn't come back and bite them at all, did it?
Mm-mm.
But they needed something. They went, they created Masters of the Universe, 1982. What were do we know what the first line consisted of? Obviously it came He-Man.
He-Man, Tila,
Mm-hmm.
Man at Arms, right?
Zodak,
Mm-hmm.
Man-at-Arms, Skeletor, Beastman,
And Merman.
Merman. Oh, was
Those
it
were the
Evil
OGs.
One? Who? No, there was 8. It was 8 originals. Who was
Stratos.
An 8-back.
Stratos? There we go.
Mhm. That was the 8-back.
That was the 8-back. And for anyone who doesn't know what an 8-back is, it just refers to the back of the blister card and how many characters were displayed on the back. There were 8-backs. I think there were 6-backs.
12 backs.
Yeah.
I
Where
didn't
you'd
know there was a
see,
term for that. That's interesting.
Yep.
What did you say it was? E.
8-back. This was
I'm sorry.
considered an 8-back.
I'm sorry. What did it mean? Is what I meant. I'm sorry.
Oh, it just meant like when you turned out, He-Man was on a blister card, right?
Yep.
On the back of the card, you would see that whole wave,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And it was
Gotcha.
just 8 figures, right?
Okay. Yeah. So, Wave 1, you've got He-Man, Man, Arm, Stratos, Tila, Beastman, Merman, Skeletor, Zodak. You had Battle Cat and Screech, the Battle Ram and the Wind Rider, and then Castle Grayskull. That's what was released, looks like in 81.
Was it 81?
That can't be right.
Look at
No,
82.
no. We have all the.
Wait.
For one, you'd have to go back. We have our files from our '80s show.
Yeah.
But the first figures that came out were those 8 figures.
Hmm.
I think Castle Grayskull came a little later. It was a very early release, though. Might have been the same year, but wasn't in the first wave.
I think you're right. All right,
Yeah,
so again,
it was
who had
82.
what? What was your favorite of this line? Like who had what here?
He-Man.
Obviously.
And
I mean, he was. As much as I love the villains, He-Man was the guy.
I got a
I-
special
yeah, I-
spot for Stratos. Like that one, for whatever reason, really resonated because he could fly. It was a little bit different than some of the other characters. And the biggest thing that grabbed me with those first set of toys was the comic books, right? Because
Mhm.
it gave you context for the characters. You didn't realize it at the time, even if you couldn't read them. Like, look what these guys are doing. You know who was good, who was bad. And it gave you a little more detail, and it made the toys. It gave you something to start with, right? This is how you play with the characters. It's like a little bit of a commercial in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
The comic books really added to the playability of those characters. But
And the artist at the time, Alfredo Alcala, I believe his name was. Really good art if you go back and look at it. I mean, I think it still holds up. It just, we were talking about art earlier. It looks amazing. I mean, I love it.
If I ever wanted like a vintage collection sealed and stuff, it would probably be a He-Man stuff. Just because of the
Agreed, same.
artwork.
Mm.
It's the artwork.
Yeah, the artwork.
That's the big draw.
for sure.
I think anything that I remember seeing, other than maybe some Robotech stuff, which I think is just as good, but artwork wise, it's Motu, man.
easily for me too.
Did everyone have a gray skull?
I did actually.
Yes, I did.
Original one. Mhm.
Did too.
I did not.
Nope.
Of the original ones that came out, the only one I didn't get was a Snake Mountain.
Is it because you're scared of snakes?
No, just at the time I just missed out. But yeah, I think the year after, after Castle Grayskull, Transformers started to take over. So that was the Christmas I got Transformer heavy stuff. Then the year after that was the Fright Zone, and I was into the Horde, so I definitely got a Fright Zone. And after that was Eternia. I was not going to miss out on Eternia because you see that lion gosh damn tower, just like, wow, I want it.
So fun story. I never actually had the original He-Man, being only 2 years old when it came out at the time. I had the Battle Armor He-Man. That was my first. And obviously not really understanding what waves were back then. I always wondered why my He-Man looked different from my friends.
Yeah.
Like, why can't I find this one? It was different time back then.
It's funny you should say that because when I first saw Battle Armor He-Man and Battle Armor Skeletor, when the kids showed it, in school, I was like, wait, mines didn't come with that. Because it's Battle Armor, dude. I was like, oh.
It was a cool gimmick, though. I did like the spinning thing. So that
Yeah.
was pretty fun. Really, I did like that. But
I think it was neat that in one of the documentaries that we watched was like it was based on the cars that you crash them and like the hood pops up and then
Doors
the
would flip,
front
yeah.
splits and the
Yeah.
side flips. Like I thought that
Mhm.
was neat.
Hot Wheels, yeah, I think did that for a minute. Yeah,
I had
so it
those
makes
cars.
sense.
I had them. I still
Yeah.
have one or two somewhere, but yeah.
nice.
I was one of those kids who got the original 8-pack. I only got He-Man, Zodak, and Skeletor. That's it of the original 8-pack. I missed out on all the others. And I wanted so bad. So when 2000X came back, I was like, I'm never gonna not go without again. And I picked them all. I picked them all up. I don't care who I had to fight, but I was gonna get them. So yeah.
All right, so of course, big hit coming through next year, 1983. They released even more characters. We had Evelyn, Faker. One of my favorites, Manny Faces, the goofiest name, goofy gimmick, but it's just so fucking cool. Ram Man, Trapjaw, Triclops. What else? Any vehicles? We had the Screech came out in '83. Zor came out in '83. Panther, flocked Panther, by the way.
Nice.
The Attack Track and Point Dread. My favorite out of this wave was I had a few of these. I love Trap Joe. I just thought he was cool. That you turned him and you hit the jaw went up and down. I thought that was a cool gimmick. Triclops with the spinning head or the spinning eyes. That was fun. Manny Faces again, just absolute ridiculous name, absolute ridiculous superpower if you want to call it that. But just at the same time, for some reason, I don't know what it is. Just so cool. Like it's. I don't know, man. It just I loved it. But any favorites from this wave, guys?
Evelyn, maybe.
Yeah.
Battle Cat. Speaking of flocked, real quick. I mean, not Battle Cat. Panther. Speaking of flocked, I ruined my Moss Man by sliming him in the slime pit.
Oh,
No.
Yep.
Yeah, then didn't think that went through when I did it as a kid.
Was there not?
Man,
Did they
it's
not
so
have a warning for that?
I don't think so. And if they did,
No.
I didn't fucking
we,
read it.
we didn't have that many warnings back then. We were still eating the lead paint chips off the wall.
I mean, remember,
We were still smoking
He-Man
with the
came-
windows up.
He-Man came with the one of the He-Man what was it Thunder Punch came with the little red cartridges.
Good. Yeah, blasting caps.
Yeah, blasting caps.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
we were getting those as kids, so
Yeah.
warnings. Yeah, okay.
But yeah, no, my favorite, well, by default would have to be Manny Faces because he was the only one I was able to get in that wave. When I was a kid, I was able to get Trapjaw like a year later, but yeah.
Yeah, Triclops is probably mine. And I remember the comic that came with him kind of painted him as like a mercenary, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Yeah.
kind of hired gun for Skeletor. And I thought like, oh, finally he's got someone who's competent because you watch the show and no matter how cool they look or how tough they look, they were always kind of bumbling.
I was
I'm in the
disappointed
comics.
in Beastman the most because Beastman was supposed to be the most menacing looking one, and he's such a goof in the short. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm gonna say the mini comics always confused me because they never matched up with the storyline from the cartoon. I was like,
Yeah.
what is this? Sure, okay.
Right.
I mean, that was kind of all the comics too at the time, or even now.
Yeah, they were totally separate, right?
Yeah.
But
Anyone pop their arms off and swap them along with the armor to make new characters? I didn't know you could do that back then, Tyler. Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's called imagination.
yeah.
Oh,
You should try it.
Oh,
Got him.
sick burn, bro. No, I didn't know you could do that back then. I thought that would be breaking the figure if you took an arm off. I didn't know there was like interplayability like that. You could make your own little characters.
Did you
was
actually
not
play
intended.
with them at all? Because I mean, my
Yeah, I
arms
played
fall
with them,
all
but
the
I didn't
time.
like rip arms off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of
Y'all
the
have
things they
newspaper
advertise with
newspaper ways
the
of playing.
Origins line now.
That is true. I do recall hearing that with Origins. You can do that with.
You know how
Yeah.
many figures I had by the time it was all said and done that my father had to glue the legs on because the rubber bands popped.
Yeah.
So
Quite a few.
It's not like G.I. Joe's where you can fix it. You couldn't fix a He-Man once
Yeah.
that rubber band snapped. That was a wrap.
All right, so again, 1984, they obviously another wave came out, but 1984 is special for another reason. I think that's when the cartoon debuted. Am I correct on that? I think it was 84. Yes,
83, 84, somewhere in
80
there.
it
Yeah.
had to be
somewhere around that
83.
line. And of course, like you said, the mini comics and the cartoon, there was a big stark contrast of what they were doing in the comics versus what they did in the cartoon. So let me ask. I mean, in the mini comics, there was in the very beginning there was no Prince Adam. Tila was the Green Goddess. Man at Arms was there. The Power Sword split into two. There was no secret identities. That vest gave him the super strength and all that. Versus what we got in the cartoon. What version of him would, I guess maybe even now, would you guys prefer? Cartoon, Origins, or like the mini comics?
Mini comics for me, because
Yeah.
my mind couldn't reconcile that He-Man was a dude that wore pink in real life. I just didn't understand. What? Yeah.
It would have to be the
Speaking
TV
of-
show for me, right? Because the transformation sequence from Prince Adam to He-Man really sells that intro and kind of like sets a tone for you being in for something fantastic, right? Like if it's just a big, strong guy stomping through Eternia, it's kind of like Conan, and it's kind of what he was originally intended to be until people at Mattel found out that Conan had a lot of mature themes and would be tough sell for kids. So they created He-Man. But like, I really love the transformation sequence, so I'd have to go with the cartoon He-Man myself.
No, I'm with you, Matt. Just something about that big booming voice when he pulls the sword out. When he does that by the power of Grayskull, that still gives me tingles, man. I love that. The lightning, the music, changing in the battle cat. I agree with you. I think that's just there's something about that, man. There really is.
Was I the only one that ever grabbed a stick or a broom handle and changed into He-Man like every single day from the ages of like 4 to 8? I mean,
Oh no, I probably did that too
No,
because contrary to popular opinion, I did have imagination.
Yeah. I do it to this day.
yeah, I mean, go sweep the walk. I have the power. Like, my mom would be like, well, at least you
I had
see
one
them,
of those
so,
cheap
yeah.
He-Man Halloween costumes. They came with a sword too. So one year,
Nice.
With the rubber mask.
Please,
with the mask.
let's get some pictures.
I've seen those masks.
Never.
They're scary.
Yeah. What do you wear it for these days?
Well, we're PG. We're PG. Maybe PG-13.
Role play. Sorry.
Yeah.
For
It's
his
the most powerful man in
imagination.
the universe. I mean, I don't know what you were thinking, Joe. I mean, geez.
I was one of those kids who had parents who were okay with me watching rated R movies, so I
be right
definitely
back.
saw a lot of
Okay.
sword
Yeah.
and sandal films like Sword and Sorcerer, Beastmaster,
Yep.
Conan, all of the stuff that
Yep.
kids shouldn't
Yep.
have been watching, to be honest. But so that's what's
Yep.
the expectations I had for He-Man as a cartoon, which is weird, because again, when you're a kid, you're seeing two conflicting markets, Well, when you're a kid, there's the kid market, which is the cartoon, and then there's what you saw in the rated R movie. And yeah, it was one of those things where I had to low key had to dumb myself down a little bit to appreciate things, the barbarian aspect as a kid. So maybe my mind was corrupted by naked Tanya Roberts and all the other scantily clad females in these sword and sandal movies. So yeah.
I like the draw
Go
of
ahead,
the
Joe.
comic, and I like the draw of the comic and the show, but it is a little weird to see He-Man and Prince Adam having the same physique and no one putting things together. But
Superman.
I think between
He-Man had a tan.
Yeah.
Animation
Adam
was
didn't
the shit.
Yeah,
Tan.
and Prince Adam had that fetching pink vest that you'll like so much, right?
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't possibly be
Yeah.
the most powerful man in the universe.
Scott said it's salmon, not pink.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm colorblind.
Don't listen
so-
to Scott.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, like but I think at the end of the day, it's gonna be the cartoon for me.
Okay. Anyone have a favorite episode of the cartoon? Anyone want to talk about your favorite cartoon memories of this show?
Chakotay. House
Chakotay.
of Chakotay.
Chakotay,
It was the first
nice.
two-parter. It was the first two-parter. That's why, and it scared the crap out of me.
What scared you about it?
Well, because when it was talking about the part two, it showed a picture of a like a Chakotay's like a, I guess, statue mask face on a wall,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh man, yeah. They said to be continued in part two in the house of, Chakotay. So yeah, that's I'll never forget it. That's the one that that got me, really jazzed up to see, go home after school to watch part two, because that how often do you see a part two coming up in a cartoon? You know what I mean? So
No, that's true. Two-parters were rare back then. Usually it was like your average 28-minute episode.
Mm-hmm.
Just the plot of the week stuff.
Yeah. The toy of the week we need to introduce this week is,
right. And to my disappointment, they never made toys of Chakotay or Lord Mask.
Oh,
Not in the
Classics
vintage
did,
line.
right? Yeah, Classics did.
Yeah, they definitely didn't, but they didn't in the.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Real quick, when we're talking about toys, I wanted to mention this. Like, I saw a thing where it was like basically Beastman and Mossman are the exact same thing, just done differently. And Merman and Stinkor, it's the same
Yes.
figure, just painted differently. And I'm like, I had no clue. I mean, when they're like,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
the same, you're like, oh crap, they are. But when you look at them, you don't. Like, I didn't associate them with being the same mold, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
Quit blowing your nose on your children.
Any of you guys ever watched the Man and She-Ra Christmas?
Come here,
special?
honey. My nose is dripping.
Yes,
I
yes,
did.
I have watched.
I saw
Yes.
saw some of
I
it
love
not
that
too
one.
long ago.
It's a tough watch, right? Like, but for whatever reason, that's the one I've kind of cajoled it into the rotation, and my kids ask for it at this point, right? We've watched it every year, so that one's the one that holds up. It's not really a individual episode, but it's the one that kind of ties back both of the kind of major franchises, and they literally have everybody in it. They've shoehorned every toy they could into this hour and a half long episode that aired shockingly right around the biggest gift giving holiday in North America, at least. So yeah, it was.
Yeah, they had
I liked it.
It was memorable because they made Skeletor a good guy.
Yeah, that's right.
for
He gave
fans.
those kids jackets.
Yeah. I'll never forget that.
stop
He
being
made an
good.
appearance.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice, exactly. I feel.
made me like Skeletor a little bit more.
You got a favorite episode?
Yeah, it was the initial crossover with funny enough with the She-Ra, right?
Mhm.
Those and the battle dragons with the with all the with Granamir and
Nice.
all the other dragons. You know, I always been fascinated with dragons too, so that was a good one. And there's a dream one. Oh, I always forget the name of it. Where they're having the nightmares. They're all having the nightmares. With one of the some like banished villain came back. Oh, I always forget the name of that episode. But yeah, those are the ones that always come to mind first.
Nice. Joe, you didn't watch back then, but you've been watching recently, right? What do you think now of the show?
I mean, I like the show. I don't have a favorite episodes. I haven't gotten like that deep into it. To where I'm like, this is it, this is the one or whatever. Like, to me, it's that nostalgia lens. I'm like, I feel like I look through a lot of things through my nostalgia lens, but I think it's just so much that it's just fun to sit and watch old cartoons,
Yeah.
Does the cartoon hold up?
Sorry.
Yes, no.
I think you have to be a He-Man fan
Yeah.
to say if that cartoon holds up. Watch it on its own merit, not being a He-Man fan or into any of this, I don't think it does. Not as well as some of the other 80s cartoons might.
I think if you can get over some of the kind of reused footage, right, where
Mhm.
you're going to notice He-Man running the same way in the same fashion, like a bunch of times to kind of eat up time. But like the themes are unique. They're all the episodes are different, and yeah, some of it's a little, I mean, aimed at 8 to 10-year-olds, but by and large, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I think it holds up pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I was an 8 and 10-year-old, so it worked on
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, for sure. We're all here because of it, right?
Hmm.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, going by today's standards, it doesn't really hold up that great. But I'm 40 some years old. I kind of expect different from my cartoons right these days, so I get that. But
So does it hold up to a modern day cartoon then? I guess something aimed at that same age.
No,
No.
we just saw the Netflix series, so my answer is no.
But was that Netflix series aimed at
Yes,
kids?
I still think it was. I definitely think it was to some
The
extent.
Kevin Smith one?
Yeah, I think it was still aimed
Yeah.
at kids. Not
Did you
not
not
as
like
much
it,
as the
Ian?
other one. I enjoyed season 2 a lot better than season 1.
Yeah. Well, what I meant was like whatever a modern day kids cartoon is. Like you've got
There are
kids
none
your age.
anymore.
Well, okay, well then so wins by default.
There really aren't many modern day kids cartoons
I mean,
anymore.
My Little Pony.
I mean, it went all iCarly type, live, these acting Thunderman type cartoons is what my son grew up on in those shows. They weren't cartoons.
I just noticed that anything that was meant for kids recently, everyone's like a wise ass or a smart, smarty pants. Everybody has that quick sense of humor, or
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's different. Like I think kids are, at least that's the way the cartoons seem, for a more sarcastic bunch of kids. You know what I'm saying? That's the vibe I get when I watch things like oh my gosh, I forgot what it's called. Something Falls, like things like Gravity Falls, or
Yeah.
Gravity. I'm not sure of that one.
Yeah, Gravity Falls is a thing. That's all I know.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I try to watch it because from my understanding, I'm a big fan of anything that has to do with Lovecraftian stuff, cosmic horror, and they had a lot of cosmic horror themes in there. So it's kind of weird that they did something like that for kids. Cool. Yeah. But yeah.
All right. So, I'm sorry. Was someone going to say something? No.
I know.
Okay. So again, around 1985 is when we were introduced to the Horde. We had Hordak and Leech, Mantenna, Modulok. Who else? Grizzlor. Those characters. Let me ask everyone a question: who was the better bad guys, Hordak or Skeletor?
Oh,
Who do you
Horde
like
guy.
better?
I love the
better
Horde,
bad-
but definitely Skeletor.
Yeah, better bad guy was Hordak. Better character was Skeletor.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the Horde.
And,
Go ahead.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So did anyone else have She-Ra or the Horde, obviously great cartoon, we can all agree on it now, but in the 80s when it first came out, you were watching it, were you announcing to your buddies you were watching She-Ra?
So
I don't recall doing it. I definitely recall watching it because my sister was around, but I 100% watched it. I do not recall it advertising it.
I did not watch She-Ra really at all, but I had the Horde. I did not. So as a kid, I didn't even really comprehend too much that the Horde was being featured in the She-Ra cartoon. But yeah, I definitely would not have told my friends I was watching She-Ra. They'd be like, "Hey, you watched that episode of She-Ra?" Yes. No. No.
Yeah, what was that? 1987. Yeah, that's not.
Yeah,
That's
somewhere in that
That's a
pocket.
no for me, boss.
Yeah. Have you guys watched it since though?
No, I have not gone back and watched She-Ra.
So I've got girls, and we watched it,
Mhm.
and we really enjoyed it. There's some hokey parts, and obviously, like, there's some things that it's more kind of a My Little Pony. We're a bunch of friends, and we're all
Mhm.
princesses
Mhm.
kind of thing. But the character development's great, and the Horde and the villains are reminiscent. And there were several crossovers with He-Man, which kind of like tied me in. I don't recall seeing all of it as a kid because I probably gave into the stigma at some point and opted for Transformers or GI Joe or whatever. But I will say it is as good a show as He-Man was, for sure, and definitely kind of expands the universe, and some of the characters definitely kind of bridge the gap.
Do you
Matt,
So
subscribe to the theory that She-Ra was one of the downfalls of He-Man in the 80s when he came out?
I would say the rise of everything else. Um, there was something very specific, and I forget what it was. 1987. They said, like, there was some documentary. I think Joe said he watched one. It might have been discussed in that, where it just kind of killed. I think the momentum following the movie was just completely lost, right?
Mhm.
But I don't know if She-Ra killed it. Um, they really didn't keep churning out new figures like in the late 80s, right? Kind of they dried up in 87, 88, somewhere in there.
Well, one of the theories going out there, and this is from, I guess, even from the creators of Masters of the Universe, is you couldn't get those characters anymore. Like you couldn't get like Men at Arms or Tila
He-Man, Skeletor.
yeah,
or Skeletor. I mean,
Okay.
you could get like newer versions like Thunder Punches and all that, but you couldn't get the originals. And
Yeah.
who was Rio Blast, who was Clamp Champ? I mean, they weren't on the cartoon, and no one really knew who they were.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that had a lot to do with it.
I think that so the TV series was already finished up by that time. You're
Mhm.
talking 87.
Yeah.
They weren't making new episodes of the cartoon. It's just in syndication. But without new content and you're only putting out action figures and it did move over to She-Ra, I don't think that that's what did it in. I think it's the lack of He-Man content. She-Ra is just an adjacent property.
Mhm.
But you have the rise of Ninja Turtles in particular in that year, at the end of 87. And a lot of other cartoons that were just becoming prominent. Like it's new content, so when you're consuming, you're going to watch what the new thing is or just what's available. But you've seen how many times the same He-Man episode when you're flipping channels.
Now I'm going to say something crazy,
What's
but I
up?
need to put it in context. But I definitely enjoyed She-Ra more than I did He-Man as far as the Filmation cartoons were concerned in general.
Oh yeah,
Because,
what's that?
well, first and foremost, when you're a kid, remember how I told you like I was experiencing cognitive dissonance because I was expecting Conan He-Man instead of the He-Man we see in cartoons. Well, so many years later, watching He-Man and cartoons in general, then you get She-Ra, right? And then of course I was a little annoyed that the Horde was not in the He-Man cartoons because that's what they advertised in the toys, that these guys were better and more powerful than Skeletor and they're gonna whoop his ass, right? And they're gonna whoop everyone's ass.
Mm-hmm.
But the only way you could access the Horde was through She-Ra. You know what I mean? That because that was the only cartoon that was gonna show them. And looking back, I think it helped advertise She-Ra for the male audience acceptable and digestible, because it almost seemed seamless, the transition between He-Man and to She-Ra. And looking back, it She-Ra, nobody would watch. I don't think any dudes would watch a She-Ra cartoon where all of her enemies were a bunch of Barbie-like characters the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Instead, they got badass Hordak and his guys, but of course they turned them into like goofy bumbling idiots like they did
Mm-hmm.
Beastman, Merman with Montana and and Leech. It made the transition, I think, easier to digest. And also it was easier to root for. It made it more easier and to root for She-Ra to win against the Horde too, because she had the similar powers as He-Man. And but she had more. She had like things that her sword could turn to a rope, and a bunch of other couple things that He-Man didn't do either. So I was like, okay, well, yeah, that's kind of cool. But I was now kind of annoyed that they didn't have She-Ra figs for the He-Man line. Instead, that the She-Ra figs were a miniature version of Barbie, which was smaller than didn't scale with Masters of the Universe toys. And I was very grateful that my sister had was into She-Ra, because when she bought the toys, I tried to experiment to see if it could if it would work, and it just couldn't, because She-Ra was just too small, in that line. But yeah, no, I the irony is that the more, who would have thought that I was going to enjoy this Barbie kind of situation more than I was going to enjoy the Filmation He-Man, so that's all I want to say about that. It was just weird.
Yeah, like I haven't watched She-Ra, but I don't think She-Ra was specifically responsible or even significantly responsible for the downfall of He-Man. I think it's one of those things of, going back, and when we did our list of 80 stuff, it looks like it started in 82 and ended in 87. I mean, that's 5 years. That's a solid run of toys, and then 88. I mean, friggin' what 88 hit was, the thing that took over for the next probably 4 or 5 years was Ninja Turtles. Wave 1 of the Ninja Turtles came out in 88. I think they ran with He-Man. They did the She-Ra stuff, and then because what was it, the first year wasn't it like $400 some million the toys made, something like that altogether, somewhere around there. It was
they made a lot of money. Yeah.
Number. It was an insane number, and they never hit that again, and they kept trying to recapture that lightning in the bottle. But let's be realistic. The kids that got this in 82 are now 4 or 5 years older. They're probably on to other things.
And the competition's insane, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look what came out those years. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they were the first to have a TV show tied to toys, and they capitalized, as you said, $400 million in the first year. It's crazy for 1982. And then Transformers, G.I. Joe, Thundercats, Silverhawks, all varying degrees of success, but they all kind of phased out by 87, 88. I know people will say Transformers and G.I. Joe limped on a little bit, and but everybody, the second wave was Turtles and a bunch of other shows that kind of didn't quite take the same hold as Turtles, but they ended up replacing these in the rotation. And they tried to reinvent He-Man with the New Adventures. I never really watched it, but a lot of people have told me it's decent, but
it's not.
I was way too old. We'll get to that next. Yeah, sorry. No. It's just they were the first group to kind of really get a TV show. They had to put those PSAs in, just like G.I. Joe ended up having to do, right? Kind of tell you, don't stick your tongue in a light socket, don't beat up your friends on the playground, right? Stuff like that. And so they were kind of obligated to do that so they could sell toys for their 20 minutes every half an hour. And then they kind of ran out of steam. But over those, because She-Ra overlapped with them for 2 years. It was She-Ra came out in, I think, 85, and they both kind of ended in 87. I think it was just they were running out of stories to tell. The live action didn't take off, and everybody got beat up by Turtles kind of arriving on the scene. Turtles and Ghostbusters, the animated, where they were there, and there was a lot of stuff in that pocket to kind of take the place of those original shows.
Can I bring up the movie since it's?
I was just going to say let's bring up the 87 movie. Go ahead, E.
It's fucking horrible. It was horrible. I was so pissed off as a kid. As a kid, I'm like, what is this? This is not He-Man. Who the fuck is Gwildor? Why wasn't even Ivan Drago? I was like, who's Gwildor? Where's Battle Cat? What the fuck?
It was terrible.
It started off strong, and then they went to Earth, and I was like,
"There's no reason to go to Earth. None.
No, never. Please don't."
We're in Eternia, and it looked like it was post-apocalyptic Eternia. So I was like, "Ooh, this looks serious." And then we went to Earth, and I was like, "No."
Did you like Dolph as He-Man?
He was fine.
We're gonna get. Yeah, he was.
I think he's the best you're going to get with that physique, short of it being Arnold. But then again, I think his accent would probably take away from that.
Agreed. But yeah, I mean, it barely stuck to any source material. Again, they didn't need to go to Earth. There was no reason for that. Again, what the hell is a Gwildor? Where's my Orko? Where's all the characters that I was on? Where's my Trapjaw? Where's my Triclops? We didn't get any of that. We got some guy named Blades.
Blade and Sauron.
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 Yeah. Who are these guys? I don't.
Well,
I mean, they missed the mark.
I think it's two things. One, introduce new characters to sell, and money. Like, how are you going to do a Battle Cat at the time? He-Man riding a Battle Cat. How are you going to do Orko?
And
that's what Gwildor was, because Orko don't walk. Orko flies around. How would you do that
in the 80s?
There's no excuse, man. If they could do Falcor,
you got a point. You got a point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all agree the movie was definitely 2 thumbs down.
Yeah.
Definitely agree. All right, so let's. Yul, I want to hear your thoughts on this because I heard I know you liked it. Let's just briefly touch on New Adventures. It came out in 1990. It was a continuation of the original show, but they went to a different planet or dimension. I think. Character designs were different. New characters. Yul, you liked this, right?
Kind of.
Okay.
I liked the cartoon, but the toys were so crappy that it made me lose my desire to watch the cartoon. I was like, because I watched the cartoon first, and then I saw the toys. Like, what is this? Why are they so dinky? What the heck? This is not He-Man at all. At least in my in my mind, right? I was like, if it was just the size difference was just so jarring. I couldn't reconcile that either. But I like the animation, not so much the story, like the literal animation, right? It was still kind of cool that Prince Adam looked kind of like a shepherd, biblical shepherd, going to space.
That's a good explanation for that,
space. And then at least he did say, here's the funny part. The irony is now I got used to the idea of He-Man being this guy who Adam turning into He-Man, and I thought that version of him turning to He-Man was kind of better for me, but that's just I like that transition better from Shepherd Adam to blue tights.
Blue tights in a ponytail.
Yeah,
ponytail and Skeletor with eyeballs was just they look stupid.
Oh yeah, that was
God, I couldn't get into it. I think I tried. I think by then I was 10 years old. Again, I moved on to Turtles, and this was just. It wasn't the He-Man I wanted or grew up with. It just there was nothing. It was just weird.
And I watched it again with adult eyes because I had to sell. Okay, so when 2000X said that they were going to integrate NA, I was like, "Oh brother, I hope not. Why are they doing this?" And then when Optic came out, I was like, "Oh man. I think I want it now." So I watched all the episodes of NA just to get myself hyped up for the reality of New Adventures being integrated with 2000X. And I gotta tell you, I think I can watch New Adventures more now with Goofy and all of that and all over Filmation. Like if I don't know. If I was to go to hell and all I could watch was one of those things between the two, I would definitely watch NA.
Wow.
Yes.
So
it's a bold statement, Cotton.
We were talking about this a couple weeks ago. You had brought up New Adventures. I tried to do it again a couple weeks ago. I got like maybe 5 minutes. I was like, there is no fucking way. I cannot. No, this is bad.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying
this is just bad. No,
but you're saying it's better than the Filmation run.
For me, it is. Yes, absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know about that.
No, Joe, you're going to watch it with fresh adult eyes. I mean, maybe you could give us a hot take on that one. I don't know.
The animation was better for me.
Terrible.
I like the fact that it's supposed to be a continuation, and then the fact that he looks, to me, in my mind, he looks younger. Doesn't work.
Younger. He looks like he lost 50 pounds.
Svelte.
He got a ponytail. It was cut year. It was cut year.
Yeah.
Gort, you were younger than us. I mean, did you watch New Adventures at all?
No.
No.
Just so
No,
you
just
know,
laugh.
With a laugh. I like
just
it.
so you know,
Yeah,
he
no,
is still younger
that's a
than
channel
us.
change.
I think I have the DVDs in a box set with the rest of it. Maybe I'll try to watch it. But no.
That's how I had to.
Good luck.
Derek in the chat brings up a good point. They can make a flying dog for Never Ending Story, but they can't make a battle cat for
Yeah, but
87 movie.
Falcor.
They can do it.
There's no other people in the Never-Ending Story. Like they had to pay Dolph Lundgren and Frank Langella.
Yeah.
That's true. That's
All that
did have
money, all the
problems,
money
didn't
went
they?
to Dolph. All the
Yeah.
money
And
went to Dolph.
it might sound dumb, but I think making a flying dog is probably easier than making a battle cat that you have to ride, right? Because
Yeah.
a kid can just lay on top of a
Yeah, and
A
they throw
big-
the fan in. They throw a
series
fan
of
in it.
pillows.
There's
Yeah.
good points being brought up here.
Yeah, they throw that fan in front of it, and it looks like it's flying. I mean, it's really just a static thing with some movement.
Yeah. You set
All
up
right,
like
so-
6'4" Dolph Lundgren on the back of a fake battle cat. It's gonna look terrible.
All right, so there's definitely no love for new adventures in this room right now. But
Or the
let's
movie.
move on to 2000X He-Man revival, something completely different.
Yes.
Came out in whatever 2000X. Definitely a more grown-up story. Prince Adam actually looked like a little kid, and there was didn't he transformed? You could actually see it. What did everyone think of 2000X when it first came out?
Absolutely loved it. As a matter of fact, it's because of the irony is because of the way Filmation did Adam to He-Man transition that I was able to digest this version of younger Adam turning into grown-up He-Man. It to me it became cooler in my book because
They made it make sense.
Yeah, they made it make sense to me. Yes, they don't look nothing alike at all. So it's easy to believe that He-Man and Adam were not the same people at all. So, one thing I want you guys to understand, what you guys don't realize, because I was a guy who attended SDCC every year from the 90s, up until today, right?
Okay. I
I gotta tell you, when the day that they previewed 2000X He-Man toys, I forgot what they call it, the 2-ups. That's what they call it, the prototypes.
Yeah.
I thought I was seeing things. Like, did I just see what I thought I saw? Because there's no way in hell.
It was a putty tat.
Yeah, and when I looked, and I was just like, oh my god, this is He-Man, and except it was done with that modern upgrade. That year, after that, Comic-Con I think changed from being a comic convention to a toy convention moving forward at that point, because now everybody was looking forward to seeing what kind of other toys are going to be coming that were going to be like that moving forward. I'd say once they showed that, people were like, wow. And I'll never forget it. I remember going back to the org to tell people, oh my God, guys, I can't believe what I just saw. He-Man's coming back in a big way. And at the time there was no smartphones, no nothing. All they could take was your word for it and pray that there was somebody had a website that would show those, what I saw. Nobody, like, I don't think anyone's gonna freaking believe me, but what I just saw was gosh damn amazing, So
Yeah.
And that's what kind of changed. And when they said that there was going to be an animated series of that, I couldn't wait. I actually could not wait. And it was probably of them all, this is my favorite iteration of anything He-Man, point blank, period. The Mike Young 2000X stuff was the best because, in my opinion, they actually gave an origin for the characters. You know what I mean? For most of the characters.
Yeah.
So now that explained how who's who, why is why, and and why they're there, and even some of the characters that were originally Filmation characters that made a crossover to 2000X, like Count Marzo and Evil Seed. Those were great changes. You know what I mean? So I was very happy about that line and very sad that it failed. You know what I mean? It killed me. I was gutted because here was my dream, my dream figure line come back as an adult now, and now it's it's gone again.
Yeah.
And unfinished, especially since they didn't get to do the horde. They only got up to to the snake men. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to monopolize this entire conversation, but
That's
damn,
okay.
I was just so jazzed. You know what I mean? Like, imagine finally seeing Zodak again, except a tattooed black man that kicks everyone's ass with, glowing tattoos. That ish was really cool. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, please more. I gotta see.
Yeah. 2000X was more than a toy commercial. It was actually story driven. I mean, there was character development, there was storylines. I mean, it was just it was good. It was, I mean, yeah, obviously it was still aimed at kids, but like being 20 or some whatever years old, I could still enjoy that for sure.
Mhm.
I mean, it has something for everyone, and I loved it. And I'm just really sad we never got that season 3. I really am.
Yeah, dude.
Because the horde was coming.
If that was also the time when I was literally trying to fight scalpers for the first time in my life in Walmart for fakes. You know what I mean? So that's when I think community started, because everyone in forums were like, hey, anyone from San Diego? Anyone got which got this, which got that? And that was the beginning of it, I would say.
Right. Joe, have you seen the 2000X one?
I saw a couple episodes when it came out, and I remember really, really liking them. But then it just, college girls. So,
right.
That one.
Oh, by the way, I graduated from college, so I was no longer in school. He's now broke you with no job, but all the time in the world.
Yeah, I was going to college full time. I was working full time, and girls. So, but yeah, I do remember seeing some of the stuff in the stores, and do remember the episodes that I watched. I really liked the art style, and I liked what I saw.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else got cartoon opinions on that?
Oh, I definitely think it was the best He-Man cartoon we got. Different designs, but still recognizable characters.
Everybody was recognizable, yeah.
Yeah, you knew who was who. For sure.
Story. Yeah. A good storyline involved. I mean, if you look at the whole Keldor being Skeletor, being Randor's brother, it came from that cartoon that's now kind of like the accepted canon for He-Man, because you didn't have that in the 80s cartoon. You got very little story.
Yeah.
There it was all very episodic, one and done. You didn't need to see season 1 to watch season 2 to know what was going on. That was different, and it was good. It was good stories. Cool designs. I think part of the problem was that they did screw up the toy line, though.
Let's get into that. Let's get into that. What did they screw up?
Well, they were non-articulated figures.
Yep.
Is really kind of what they were. They were what's the term? Stactions. Like action statues with very, very little movement on them. And
typical
weren't doing much with the legs.
6 points of articulation
for most of that. Yeah, 6 point.
Yeah, and at that time, I don't think it's what it's not what kids wanted. They weren't watching the show too much either. And when the toy line don't sell for a cartoon, that's how a cartoon gets axed real quick. No matter how good the cartoon is, unfortunately.
I gotta agree with EE here, because at the time, what people don't remember was Marvel Legends was also introduced that same year.
Yep.
Okay, fun facts.
You had the Spider-Man classics in Marvel Legends, and it really that upped it in a very different way.
Yeah, changed the landscape of what was expected moving forward as far as articulation goes in action figures. It was, so if anything, the only thing that kind of drove that the action figures was more the sculpt, because they were more the Four Horsemen were Spawn guys who did Spawn toys, and their articulation wasn't the best, but they did have better details than most.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Figs at the time. So that was
I do remember them looking good, but they were also posed like in the articulation
exactly.
was useless. It was like McFarlane figures, like early McFarlane figures.
Yes,
they look good, but the articulation's useless because you move his leg up, he's just gonna fall over. It was not. Yes. They were very poor, and wasn't another problem like you could only find like He-Man and Skeletor everywhere. Like you couldn't find other characters. There were like so many He-Man and Skeletor variants in that line.
There was a lot of variants of all of them was kind of the problem. Like say like a guy like Triclops, you're more likely to find, a repaint than that original one. Mm-hmm. But really for any of these characters, goofy color Beastman, no thank you.
The peg warmers definitely clogged up the shelves. That's when I'd started to learn terms like peg warmers. That's why we can't get new stuff, because these things are still clogging the shelves, and everybody was still looking for ones that they couldn't get, like Tila and Mechanic was kind of hard to get at the time. Heck, even Triclops and Trapjaw was hard to get at the time.
Agreed. Did anyone have any of those toys?
No. I got them all. I had them all at one point.
You had them all?
I did. Yeah. Even the Euro ones, the stuff that was exclusive to Europe that never made it here. I even picked up the stuff that was exclusive to SDCC at the time too. I believe Shiro was one of them, Faker, and I think it was a King Randor statue. I forget, but yeah, those what I. It was sad that when the line ended, all we could do left was get the Stactions, which were out of scale. They were bigger than
fragile as hell.
Yeah.
Those were NECA, weren't they?
NECA figures. Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah. There you go.
And you could only get those in places like Suncoast at the time, right?
Mm-hmm. Or there's a flashback.
Ooh, there's a blast of the past. Shout out Suncoast.
Suncoast, right?
Matt, did you have any of these figures?
No, I did not. I was in much the same spot as you. I watched part of the show when it came out, but I was death throes of college and was not as tied into toys at the time. Later on, I ran across them in comic shops and things, but I recognized them for what they were. They were reminded me of like starting lineup figures. They looked cool standing in one individual pose, but they weren't going to do anything I wanted them to do.
Yeah, they're definitely better in package for sure. Kept in card, blister card.
Right. Sure. Yeah. So unfortunately, like I said, toy line was not doing well, so we didn't get that season 3, which I'm still so sad about. But after that, Motu went dark for a little while, and then 2008 they brought it back in a subscription format, and I've heard stories. Not well run, Matt B. And let's see, tell us the horror stories, man. Tell us all about the Matty Collector subscription service.
Okay, so I want to put that in context too. It did not start off as a subscription service. Nope. It was started off as a free-for-all. Yeah,
absolutely free-for-all.
Yeah, and the solution was the subscription service to prevent the that kind of white. They call it the white screen of death at the time. So. But go ahead,
they would
Matt.
drop it they drop off as like a Tuesday at noon kind of thing. Like on the 20th, we're going to release Ram Man or Merman. Merman and Scareglow stick out to me because I'm sitting at work. I worked at Toys R Us corporate at the time, and at noon, I'm like blocking my calendar. 11:55, I got Matty Collector on, and I'll put my 3 in. I'll refresh it. I'll go to the payment screen, and it'll white screen out. Then it'll go refresh again, and then finally, I'll get like one to go through, I think. I'll go to lunch, and my email will just start filling up like, your order's been placed, And next thing you know, you've got 14 Scareglows on your doorstep, right? And at the time, like, this sounds like right now, or there's a point in time where this could have really paid off for me.
Yeah.
But at the time, you're like, what am I going to do with 14 Scareglows, right? Like, so you start flipping them for cost or taking up the comic shop and getting rid of them. Or worst case, you think you got one and it gets canceled later. Like as Yul said, it was an absolute open season. You had no idea what you're going to get. I'd have like my buddies like, hey man, can you just jump on this and try to pick this up for me? Like, I ended up with a couple extra shadow beasts that way. And their solution is, as you all said, was to go to the subscription service, which was a blessing and a curse, right? You don't know what you're signing up for is at least one figure a month. And then there was like a bonus figure you could get. So I think you're paying for 13 at the time. And some of them, they were all like originally $20 and then they were $22. I think they ended at 25 by the time it was over. And as time went on, it got easier and easier to pick them up because they did have some just for sale. But there was a period during which if you weren't in the subscription club, it was going to be really challenging for you to get the figures. But like, so from 2008, it was a free for all. And I think 2010 is when they started the subscription service. And that went on to like 2016, at least according to my emails, which I checked right before we started. Like I dropped out of the club in like 2016, 2017. I think Super 7 had taken it over by then.
Mm-hmm.
You quitter.
Well, like you can only go so far. Like Shakoti and Lord Mask are where I get off, right? So I picked them up, but I didn't need by the time Super 7 picked them up, they were just kind of repainting them in the Filmation scheme, which is more true to to obviously the cartoons. But since one of the things that drew me to classics at the time was it was a slightly updated version of the characters we'd gotten from the 80s and then from 2000X, they kind of combined them a little bit. And that with kind of the added articulation, which at the time was great, has since kind of been a staple and surpassed in many ways by other lines. But it was really good for 2008. You could get most of the poses for He-Man where it's doing the transformation sequence, and they kind of ran the gamut on characters, releasing that individual characters from specialized shows and stuff like that. You could get anyone you wanted if you stuck in it long enough. I really enjoyed the classics line, and it's the backbone of my Motu collection or action figure collection to this day.
Yeah. If you can imagine being dedicated to since 2008 for what, almost 8 to 10 years, right? Worth of
10
if you
years,
want to
yeah.
include that's
Yeah,
like
10
Super
years.
7 years too. Yeah. It was there's a lot that you got to understand in context too. See, this is when I learned I was casual. Like, you know how people say that there was levels to these things. I learned I was a casual when people were talking about stuff in the org. Like, I want the Star Sisters. I'm like, the fuck is a Star Sister? What is that?
From
you know?
one episode of She-Ra. Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy from that episode.
Yeah, it was a 3-pack, so it was like $60
Yeah.
or something at a time. So it was insane.
And you were learning a lot of things along the way, like the fighting foemen.
Dude, love those
yeah,
guys.
like, what is that? Yeah. And characters that I wasn't even really aware of. Like I wasn't aware of a lot of the characters in She-Ra because that wasn't my wheelhouse, other than just, you know, the main characters that did show up in the Filmation, you know, cartoon.
And
like,
a crossover, here and there.
You know? So it kind of made me a bigger fan of the overall universe to include the stuff that was coming out with She-Ra. Just it was all, even the NA stuff, because now they integrated that situation in the subscription line. I was like, oh man, I gotta eat those too. I wanted to be a cherry picker, but then I ended up becoming a guy who just learned to love it all. Especially when Optic made its debut, and I was like, man, this Optic figure looks
figure.
That was cool figure. I
goddamn
agree.
cool. Yeah. And go ahead.
No, I was just saying. Go ahead, finish your thought. Go ahead, because I'm gonna ask a question. Go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, when you're buying all these different things, you all of a sudden now I became competent in new adventure stuff because I forgot names and characters. And then I'm forced to rewatch a lot of things, even the She-Ras, and even some of the Filmation He-Man. Like I completely forgot about Strong Arm.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And Fangor. I was like, dude, how was it that I forgot this character? And then now looking back, I was like, oh yeah, he was there. how did I forget? You know, what I mean, the kind of, and that's when I said when people when there's like levels to things, people are like, yeah, Lord Count Marzo and a bunch of characters in Filmation that were obscure.
The unnamed one,
yeah, unnamed
Yes.
the evil
Mhm.
Orko. Like,
Yeah,
when I got into classics, like I got into classics after it was all done, right? I was late into collecting too, just in general.
and
And
then
I learned so much more with not knowing who these fucking characters were. Like, I never heard it. Looking them up and like, okay, all right, okay, cool looking figure.
And they, I'm sorry.
yeah, then Camo Khan, things like Camo Khan. I didn't know that there was a Cobra Khan with claws,
Yeah.
but it was a thing back in the the day, So these are things that you're learning as the line kept going on. Of course, some of the things that were a nightmare scenario were like, I don't know how Guru spun this, but obvious things like the arms for Stinkor was clearly different from the others. They, the four, the like, what's going on here? Why did they deviate from the everything else? Like a lot of QC issues that were starting to become a problem, and you're like, dang, $20 at the time was a lot to swallow, in my opinion, at the time for
Thinking about
that kind of stuff. So sometimes it did leave a sour taste in the mouth of many. But I'm looking back, with all this time and how much we've been, I guess, professional collectors for a while now, because that's what we are, right? Professional collectors. I think we've grown the ability to be more patient, to understand that, or less patient. One of the two things will happen, right? And then some companies make adjustments and re-release stuff, or if you're lucky, the company sends the parts that need to be fixed,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, go ahead, Captain. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So my understanding was of how this subscription service worked was they'd reveal a few figures to you, but they wouldn't give you the whole line.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
and my understanding is they use a lot of fear tactics. Like think they
FOMO,
like,
for sure.
Yeah, FOMO. Like they would put countdowns on their Facebook page, and they would tell you, well, if you don't buy it, we're not going to make any more.
It's going back into the Disney vault.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of that, right? I don't remember the countdowns. I remember them saying like there was you had the FOMO already because you were stuck in the free for all that before the subscription service, and they would tell you like 3 or 4 of the entire year, but they would tell you the price point. They'd be like, well, there's going to be one $60 set in May or something like that, but everything else will be $20, and there'll be a bonus figure that only you'll get. And it was always something stupid like, I think, wasn't there a Standor where it was like Stan Lee had a character?
Yeah.
And then what is it, the Mighty Photog or something like that? Which
Fearless
was
Photog,
Fearless Photog, yeah. Like those were kind of the bonus figures that like you got the chance to purchase when you bought into whatever 11 times 20, 220 plus 60. You paid $280 for the privilege of being in their club, right? I think it was like $300 total, somewhere in that neighborhood, because you would get the 13th figure as well, and that was a $20 price point. But yeah, definitely a lot of like fear tactics to kind of get you motivated.
How many figures did you end up with that you really didn't care about, Matt? Like a lot.
So initially I sold off all of the let me start by saying something even more stupid. I bought more than one subscription.
Same.
And so
2 subscriptions.
So I would buy, I don't remember, given the year, it would be like 2, maybe 3. And what I would do is I would open one and keep one boxed. And eventually I would immediately sell, because the market was usually pretty hot, because even though they had a few released to people that weren't in the club, those sold pretty quickly. So when I got like Blade, I sold them off pretty quickly. When I got like the movie figures, I sold off. The New Adventures figures, I sold off. So I didn't really keep a whole lot sitting around. But then over the course of time, I would make trades sometimes and end up with more of the the figures that I enjoyed with the idea that I would make customs or different displays or whatever. And you know how that works, right? Like best laid plans until you actually are forced to get all the stuff out of the box. So I probably had at one point in time 2 or 3 large totes full of Motu figures. And that's how EE and I dropped into a chat together. He had a Motu chat, and Leon, it was like, hey man, join this thing. These guys want some classics figures. And I remember they're like, send us pictures. So I sent them pictures, and like, send us a list. I sent them a list. They're like, yeah, those prices are good, but we'll keep hunting or whatever, right? So you have tons of these things sitting around. I've since gotten rid of most of them, luckily enough, before Masterverse came out. But there were a lot, to your point, Eric, that I was kind of sitting on for a while. That I think you benefited from a couple. We found a couple of things you were looking for, but yeah, I'm thankfully mostly out of that game, and I still had to hunt down a few that kind of came up, like PowerCon exclusives and stuff like that came out after I kind of dropped out of the club, because you get kind of burnt out looking at box upon box
The fatigue
of the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah, so EE and I got into classics when they were at their peak on eBay. Aftermarket prices.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Masterverse was there, but it wasn't what it is now. And it was just like Revelation stuff. And I didn't want that. I didn't know they were going to be doing this. And I spent some money that I'm never going to get back. I mean, so did you.
Yeah, but I mean, my situation was a little different. I wound up getting extremely lucky at one point regarding this hunting, but we'll get into that, I'm sure. I mean, people have heard the story already, but I'm
gonna just say this. No one's gonna believe me, but I'm gonna take credit for the subscription system, because
you are.
I brought it up in one of the panels, because I was like, guys, is there a way that we can get like a pre-order or a subscription system? Because gosh dang it, just please take my money. I told them that I hated fighting for others to get stuff and get the white screen of death. Why don't you just bill me? It's guaranteed money. I don't want to fight, for these things. And I remember Cornboy at the time, because in the panel with the Horseman and Guru, he goes, you know what, you got a point. Maybe there's got to be a way to do this where we can get their money, because we're ready to give up our money. I said, I'm all in. I don't care. I just don't want to fight in the free for all to get the white screen of death, on a thing. Because it happened to me with Man at Arms, and believe me, my anger was so bad that I missed out on that. That I low key, said some regrettable things at the org. And I think that almost got me kicked out. So,
what did you guys think when they revealed Grayskull?
The actual Castle Grayskull?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was happy. Very.
Yeah.
But the problem was I didn't know if I had space for it. Because now I was fighting, because I was into third-party Transformers at the same time. I was like, with all the combiners that I had, and this happening, I was like, gosh dang it, where am I going to put all of this? It's so bad that I didn't even get a Snake Mountain, you know what I mean? And as much as I wanted that. So.
Yeah, I heard that Grayskull didn't sell out right away because people were scared they weren't going to get a Snake Mountain. Is that accurate?
It definitely didn't sell out right away. That's for sure. They ended up putting them on clearance around, on Black Friday sale at one point.
Oh, wow.
And you could get them pretty cheap, relatively speaking. But I don't know. I mean, when I first saw it, I thought it was amazing. And I still do. I think it's the best rendition of Grayskull we've gotten and probably will get.
Wasn't that a Kickstarter?
You can see it right there.
There it is.
You can see
I'm trying to remember if they tried to
Snake
Kickstart
Mountain was.
Oh, okay. No, but not Castle Grayskull though, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think it was.
I think Snake Mountain was initially kind of that way, but I got mine on Entertainment Earth, so I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
No. when I first got into collecting, right, I remember being at a toy show. It was me, Dave, Dom, Gary, just walking. It might have been a Toy Con or whatever. And that was the first time I've ever seen or heard about massive multi classics, right?
Mhm.
And I'm seeing figures there, and Gary's like, "Don't do it. They're not worth the money." Blah 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 blah. Right. Fast forward 3 years later, hang out, me and Yule, a couple others, and I'm debating again back and forth about do I want to get into classics. Like I made a list, I made a spreadsheet with what the going prices on eBay was, right? And I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm doing this. There's no fucking way I'm doing this, right? Get a surprise package in the mail, and from Yule as a gift of a battle cat.
Now,
Whoa.
keep in mind, I did this with the intention of thinking that he was only going to stay with a certain amount. I didn't know he was going to go as buck wild as he said he was going to go.
No, I mean at the
Yeah,
time
yeah.
I was playing in my head like, yeah, no, just He-Man, Skeletor,
Skeletor,
Battlecat, Panther. I think I'd be happy with that, right? Knowing what kind of collector I am, no, I don't work that way. So,
Procrustes in the shot behind you?
huh?
You went so deep, you got Procrustes in the shot behind you, the forearm guy.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
him, right?
Procrustes,
Yeah.
Procrustes,
Yeah.
that's part of another. That's
Okay, I was
that's
going to
part
say
of,
because
that's part of the journey.
that's pretty in the weeds, my friend.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, right. I got what's his name?
Megator.
Megator too. Yeah, now I need Titus.
Dude,
Titus.
But so then I started hunting down classics, right? Bought He-Man, bought Skeletor. Started hunting down classics, eBay looking for prices. I'm up at 2 o'clock in the morning, joining every fucking He-Man Multi Classic Facebook group I could fucking find, right? Then someone's like, I made a post in one of the groups, like, where can where's a good place to get these things? And some guy was like, check out Attorney of Dreams. They do live sales. So I joined Attorney of Dreams, watched their first live sale, and this is right around the time we started the group, the chat group also, because a bunch of us were watching the live streams and talking. I was like, I'm just gonna put it right in the group. That's how that group chat that we have right now got started. And I might have dropped like $650 that night, right? It was a Friday night on a bunch of figures. It was PowerCon weekend, mind you, also. That Sunday, they announced Massiverse. Right? So now I'm like, fuck. No, I'm sticking with what I'm doing, right? But they had just only announced that it was coming, right? It was the first announcement. We didn't see nothing, know nothing, blah, blah, blah. Fuck it, I'm sticking with what I'm doing. And I think it took me about a year-ish to like, maybe a little more, to hunt down what I felt was a complete collection for me, right? Every figure that I really, really wanted, plus how many extras I wound up with my hands with, figures I really didn't really care about. The very last figure I purchased was Scareglow for $400 fucking dollars.
Oh, that hurts me.
Love to hear it.
That fucking hurt.
You ain't the only one.
Sealed, mint, sealed in box, and had the Zolo case around it too. The guy who was sent with the Zolo case, and of course, this $400 sealed in box figure, I ripped it right off the fucking card. I ripped it right off the card and got on the shelf. I didn't buy this to keep it in card. It's now completed my classics collection, and I felt so fucking disgusted that I spent $400 on what was probably a $25 figure when it came out. $20, $25 figure when it came out.
Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood.
I
The
spent
aftermarket prices of Motu Classics went insane over the years. Your Castle Grayskull that went on clearance is a $1,200 fucking playset now,
4 figures,
mint in
yeah.
box. Snake Mountain around the same price, if not more. It's insane to me how that particular toy line, majority of figures went so high, and I'm not talking 50, 60 bucks. We're talking almost every figure was at least 100, 120 if you wanted them in unbox. 20, 130, 150. Fisto was a $300 figure.
Yeah.
Fangor was a $500 figure. You know, that
This-
that PowerCon set from with Lord Grasp.
$2,000. I said.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ugh. I almost. Yeah.
Well,
And you could get it for a song at first too.
you know that it's
They
funny
couldn't give
because
them away.
Scareglow and Fisto were easily the first two that was a warning that created the FOMO in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they didn't make Scareglow an evergreen fig, kind of like they did Merman, Beastman, He-Man, and Skeletor for a little bit. That it created people like, well, what about Scareglow? And they never did. And then Fisto, which you would think would be an easy evergreen fig, they never reprinted that one either.
What do you mean?
So
when you
I
say that?
believe Super 7
You could always
had
order it.
plans to redo all these figures, but they never got around to it. But when they lost the license,
Yeah, pretty much.
because they took they got the license from Mattel. I know they did the Cardback Ultimate set, the 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
They started the Club Grayskull set. The Club Grayskull line was going with the Filmation versions, and they did some re-releases, I believe, but they didn't have the line long enough to get that re-release of Fisto to bring his price down.
I thought they did a Filmation Fisto,
Yes.
and it was significantly different than the classic. The classics was really well done, and as you all said, short run, but they got around it. They could have done it, but they stuck with their Filmation scheme, and it was pretty basic. It was basically like just a repaint.
I
and a
think I
couple other
paid
figures.
$200 for Fisto, and I remember it was someone had made the post at like 1:30 in the morning, and I caught it right away. I told you I was hunting these things down. Like that was all I was doing, living, just looking and constantly looking, Facebook group, trying to find the best prices I can because they were so fucking expensive. And I felt like I got a deal
Yeah,
on Fisto at that time because I was seeing him for like 300, and I was like, oh.
$350 I bought them for, and I'm sick over it now.
Look, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's what happens when you're late to the game.
And you're not patient.
Late tax.
The late tax. Yep.
All right. Well, we're coming up on what, over an hour and a half. Anything else you want to discuss about Motu tonight, guys?
What do you guys think about the new movie coming? Quick fire.
Poop.
I wish it wasn't on Earth, but other
Yeah.
than
Back
that,
to Earth
I'm
again.
cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, he's
You
wearing
said you're
his.
optimistic?
Yeah, I'm optimistic. I mean, why not
Wow.
be, right? What does it cost me? It could be good. It could be terrible. I'm gonna see it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a property that I've enjoyed. I'm gonna check it out one way or the other. I hope it's good. I wish it wasn't set on Earth because I feel like that can only go sideways. And I'm hoping, based on the comments here, Derek B and I hope they're gonna have a Battle Cat in it, but we'll see.
Do you have one thing I wanted to say, that back in the day, the community was so strong when it came to He-Man and all of that stuff, that movies like this got made, homemade movies, by the same guy, ironically enough, who won the contest for making Castle Grayskull Man.
Nice.
Did Castle Grayskull Man have blonde hair?
Yes,
figure. It's like Hulk Hogan
Like Hulk Hogan,
had
yeah,
some sort
exactly.
of like dry skin disease. It was terrible.
That's exactly what I thought when I first saw it too. I gotta tell you, another thing that was done back in the day was this: the Power of Grayskull, the history. And it was a Kickstarter at the time. And sadly, I won't say sadly, I think they turned it into a net. They gave it to Netflix, and I think Netflix had it for you guys to watch. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Nice.
like watching these old, like the Toys That Made Us shows. Like I
Mhm.
really enjoy those things.
So as far as
Yeah,
the
and
movie
that-
goes,
No.
I don't know.
And
I
he
mean,
walks off.
they're doing some things right. I mean, there's at least going to be characters in here we recognize, other than Goat Man. I thought that was an odd choice.
He's
I'm not
awesome.
crazy about him being on Earth. I don't know. I'm hopeful, but I've been let down before. I don't know. We'll see. We'll
It's
see.
weird that they chose a Golden Book character, super
Yeah.
obscure character.
Dude, the
Yeah, I don't
Golden
get
Book
it.
character and the Ladybird characters, or the Ladybird
Yeah.
stories, are great though.
Yeah,
Highly recommend those if you're reading to kids and they have any interest at all.
I have zero motivation or desire to waste my time or my money to go see what I'm pretty sure is going to be an abomination of a fucking He-Man movie.
Can't wait to give you.
I will watch it when it comes on like HBO Max, to Netflix, Amazon, whatever the hell.
Well, isn't it an Amazon movie to begin with?
It's going to
was.
theaters. It's a theaters movie, I think.
Is it?
Yes.
With Amazon
But I do
Studios.
think Amazon Studios is doing it. Yes.
Oh, I just thought it was Amazon Prime going direct.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, it's going to be bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that movie in a theater.
It's going to be fucking bad.
classics put me into retirement,
Can't wait to
guys. After 9 years, I just couldn't bring myself to get into the Masterverse for a minute.
But you're buying them now anyway.
I am though.
Yeah.
Because of the vintage line, that changed the game for me. So I'm not getting all the Masterverse stuff, just the collecting the vintage collection stuff. But yeah,
They Masterverse has made some amazing figures though. Like that snout spout just blows me away.
oh yeah.
Right?
is-
I mean, speaking of ridiculous characters, I mean, what is that? It's great though.
Yeah, he is
That
currently
action
on
figures.
sale. He is
Yes.
currently, if anyone's interested, he is currently on sale for $23. It's $32.32 shipped out the door.
I may
tempted
Worth
pick up
to
every
another
make
one.
that
penny.
For sure.
purchase.
Joe, I recommend it. It's a good. It's
Every
good.
penny.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
good.
Then I need to. what's in here?
The new Horde
Mechanized
Trooper,
Elephant Man. Perfect.
the Horde Trooper that they made. Oh, it's great.
Yeah, let me just say,
Yeah.
I am absolutely loving the new Eternia line
Mhm.
right now. It's a perfect mix of, again, I know who these are, slightly updated looks. I mean, again, you snout spout. I mean, ridiculous, right? An elephant guy, but they made him look
So good.
interesting. They made him look good.
Mhm.
I
I'm
like
loving
the
it.
fact that one's bigger too.
Mhm.
Like, bigger
Yeah,
than
I am absolutely
it's-
loving the line. I mean, it's one of my favorite things right now, and I'm glad I got in on it.
Yeah.
Wish I'd waited.
Well,
I love
so if you kept your classics line, I think it's a nice variation because the Bucks and the classic lines are pretty consistent,
Mhm.
but the Masterverse scale is a little bit bigger, so certain characters kind of stand out. I like it a lot. I mix them up, and I think
Yeah.
they look good together.
No, they do.
But
I agree.
Obviously biased.
Yeah,
Is
right now I
anyone-
have a few classics mixed in. I have a Moss Man until they make a good Masterverse one. Squeeze is my classics.
Nice. Does anyone collect Mondo?
Mm.
Oh man, oh I wish I did. I wish I could, but they're so big.
You have any of those, Matt?
Yeah.
Matt's all in on Mondo.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I don't think I've skipped any. But I've got to get rid of a couple. Like I don't have any need for Keldor. As good as the story is, I don't need a Keldor and a Skeletor. And a couple others like Scareglow, for whatever reason, they made up for the fact that they've only released them once in Classic, but they'd released like 3 or 4 different versions in Mondo,
Yeah.
which is insane. But No, I enjoy them, but they are huge space eaters, and they're getting prohibitively expensive. So
Yeah. Did you get to scare Glow with the horse?
I did. I did.
Scaremare?
Scare me. There you
Scaremare,
go.
yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get that guy out tonight or tomorrow because a couple of the fellas that are local are gonna drop by. We're gonna check them out. So I'll drop some pictures in our chat when I get there. But I've deliberately not looked at any of the reviews or anything for it because that thing was super big and super dumb. The box is gigantic.
It looked gigantic. Yeah, it looked crazy. Did Leon buy the sled?
I've got the sled. Leon skipped that one.
Okay, yeah, that sled was ridiculous too.
Yeah, that one's still. I mean, I hate to say a lot of this stuff's still sitting in a box until I figure out exactly what I'm going to do with it.
Yeah, I don't know what you're going to do with that one.
Battle Cat and Panther are out. Those are great. I think I put some pictures of those up before. I really enjoy those a lot. But I'm waiting for them to do Duplicat for their Faker release. I'm hoping they do it, but they've kind of drugged their feet on announcing their kind of new lineup since kind of the tariff situations dropped.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a new order up since I think Buzz Off was the last one in January.
Yeah, I know they teased Manny Faces. I remember that one. Other than that, I haven't heard much from them. Yeah, right? I mean,
they had a lot of extra faces for that too.
Yeah.
And
even
you're
came
going to
like
get
a real
that one
head.
because it's a favorite of yours?
Me? No.
Yeah.
No.
Come on. No. Did you see?
I will admire yours.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll probably have to get that one. But
I wish I had that kind of control to do that.
Yeah.
You mean
had the benefit of hindsight.
Lack of control? Yeah. Lack of control?
No, because I would have liked to have gotten that Tila. I thought she looked great.
You can still buy the regular Tila on there.
I know. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm okay.
They do the Green Goddess?
I don't know if it came out yet.
Not yet.
I thought
they put one out. It was limited to like 1,000.
They put one out. I think it was like a limited release. That one I missed. So I'll have to buy that on eBay. It's awesome.
All right. Well, we're coming up on 2 hours here. I think it's a good time to end it. But that was a lot of fun. Great reminiscing about Motu, past, present, future. Good talk, guys. Yul and Matt, thanks for coming on. I really enjoyed talking to you guys, sharing your stories and all that. But I think that's it for us tonight. Let's go around the yard real quick. Tell everyone where they can find each other. Joe, where can we find you?
You can find me in the Realm. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me here. I've got an Instagram, but it's there mainly for doom scrolling when that does happen.
Right. E Prime, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me here every Friday night. Kind of like what Joe said, I do have an Instagram, but it's just for stalking hot celebrities. So it doesn't really post it on there. So
yeah, like I kind of want to do more, but
Where can we find you, Gort?
Oh, you could find me on YouTube watching Coco Smooth, the Casual Collector.
Subscribe now.
Yeah.
Yul, where can we find you?
That's exactly where you'll find me, mostly in YouTube, making videos as Coco Smooth, the Casual Collector. I am in IG too, so just as Coco Smooth. So that's where y'all gonna find me.
Nice. Matt B, where can we find you?
Just basically bouncing around the realm on Facebook, and then much the same as the other guys mentioning Instagram, mostly for doom scrolling. Rarely up there, but always drop me a message if you see me.
Nice. You can find me, Eric Von Wolfenstein, on all your social media needs, perhaps coming to a town near you. And that'll do it for tonight. I think we'll be back next week with a hangout. And like I said, guys, good talk. Thanks for coming and joining us. We'll see you next week. Play us out.
I wasn't ready.
Say it with me now. Round.